came out. Let's explain a little bit what I've done. Derek has said it very well. As a humanitarian, I have worked for the ICRC, the International Committee of the Red Cross, almost for 8 years, since 2016 until July 2023. I was privileged to go to Iraq, to go to Nigeria, South Sudan, Honduras, Venezuela, Bangladesh, all countries that have a significant level of violence or an active armed conflict happening, because that's what the ICRC does. My views do not represent ICRC views. My contract finished on the 19th of January, was the day that I arrived to the UK, and it was a termination of contract, so I have no further connection with the ICRC, so my views do not represent their views, and that has to be clear here, please. Now, as Derek said, I'm working in the emergency department in Raigmore Hospital. So now, let's explain a little bit my connection with Gaza. As part of my humanitarian work, I lived 1 year in Gaza Strip from March 2016 to April 2017. I worked mainly in Nasser Hospital, in Al-Shifa Hospital, and European Gaza Hospital. The connection I felt with the culture was instant. Speaking with the hands, speaking out loud, being passionate about issues and talking about it out loud is very much Spanish as well, you know, and it's also part of the Arab culture and part of Gazans. The daily sharing of kanafe, of makluba, inviting them to their houses, those smiles, those welcoming feelings was instant on day one. And I will always remember that. And that's why I felt something special for Gaza. All the time. I have there friends that I can consider family. Tagri, Sana, Dia, Noor, Adam. Powerful women, you know, that bear on their shoulders the whole weight of the families. And this is why when October happens, when the events of October happens, I decided to, even though I was working in Raigmore Hospital, I decided to contact the ICRC, the people I know there, and offer myself. I was having a hard time listening to the news, receiving the messages from Gaza, from my friends, and not doing, for me, I wasn't doing enough. So I put my name down and said, if you need people with experience, I'm here and I'm available. Since that moment, I could at least sleep a bit more and feel a bit better with myself. Even though if I didn't go, it doesn't matter. I put my name down. It's not about me. If they don't need me, that's great, because they have people, and that's fine. But from that moment, I felt a little bit better about it. Now, 2 days later, I received a mission proposal from Geneva, so, and it was a privilege to go, and it was a privilege to be part of that. I left to Egypt on the 27th of November, and I had to wait there for 10 days. I was red lighted, and this is the complexity of this conflict, you see. Nothing goes in unless it's green lighted by 3 different governments, Palestinians, Israelis, and Egyptians. And that's the complexity, and that adds a huge amount of complexity to the logistics, to the supplies that you can get, to the people that you can get out, etc. Okay? It was very frustrating, my 10 days in Cairo, because I knew the people in Gaza needed replacement. They were very tired, and they'd been there for like 6 weeks at the time, and they wanted to leave. Because the work, and I will explain to you what a day-to-day is there, was very intense. So I was red lighted at 10 o'clock in the evening one time, and I had to wait for another 5 days to go in. So it was very frustrating, and it was very frustrating for the team. Now, let's talk about the people. It was not the same people I saw in 2016 when I arrived in Gaza. on the 8th of December. The people were tired. The exhaustion was in their faces and in their souls. You can feel it. The lack of sleep, the lack of water, the lack of electricity, the lack of food, the lack of safety, the losses that they experienced already. They were not the same people. I will always remember an older man. It was an elderly man that he was always sitting in a plastic chair inside the hospital compound, and he was well kept, very well dressed. He had a fixed glaze. I never saw him talking, never saw him drinking, never saw him eating. And I was always wondering, he was always in the same place in that plastic chair, and I was always wondering what he must be thinking about, Is this fair that this happened, at this age? He should be, enjoying the nephews, the nieces, the granddaughters and the grandsons, And instead he's there sitting in a plastic chair, not understanding why this is happening. There is also the children. The children follow you everywhere. The majority of the time that we were in the hospital working, we were one of the only international actors in there. So we were quite, everybody was looking at us, etc. So the children were pulling at our clothes, saying, how are you, what's your name? Those are the only two sentences they know in English, apparently. So they were saying, hello, what's your name, pulling at your clothes completely, following you everywhere. And when you say that your name is Ico, and everybody was like, Ico, everywhere that you go, they were following you everywhere. If you have to go somewhere to the loo, they will follow you to the loo. And it was just children everywhere. Our international team comprised about 15 people, plus minus. Bear in mind that the logistical complexities and the green lights of the people sometimes, we had, the ideal situation was to have 2 operating theatre teams complete, and that means 2 surgeons, 2 anesthetists, 2 operating theatre nurses. And then we had 4 ward nurses, 1 health delegate, 1 physiotherapist, 1 emergency department doctor, and then we had the hospital project manager, which in this case was me, and then the hospital admin. And that was my function. My function was to try to get these guys to work in the best conditions possible and try to do the network with the hospital director, with my managers that were in Rafah, crossing, etc. It was a very difficult task. Now, Ministry of Health staff were from everywhere in Gaza Strip. The ones that could evacuate from Al-Shifa, from Indonesia hospital in the north, were coming to Khan Younis to the south, and I will explain to you in which hospital we were staying, etc. But they were coming from everywhere, with that sense of community, with that sense of duty of care for their people. And they were coming from all over the strip, and they were working with us. We were doctors, nurses, student doctors, medical students, student nurses as well, working as volunteers. And I will repeat this every now and then, they were getting paid. There is a system in place. Here in Gaza, we are not talking about a low-income country, we're talking about a middle or high-income country, but with a protracted conflict, that it's been affected by this conflict severely. And now, but we have a system in place, they have a system in place. The health system is a robust system before war. And it was working still. And they were not getting paid the full salary, but they were getting paid. And I want to emphasize that it's not that you get to a place where it's all destructive, no. You have a robust system in place that is right now completely overwhelmed, but there is one. Okay, let me turn the page and breathe a little bit. Now, these are the people. Let's talk about the hospital now. We were in Khan Younis, the European Gaza Hospital, EGH, European Gaza Hospital. We went there and the majority of the time we were the only international